Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh to Dr. Nordita binti Jamil. My name is Firaizul Aidil bin Muhammad Johari Abdullah. My metric number is 285213. Today, I will present to you about topic 6, the economic crisis and its impact on the Malaysian economy. Introduction. The Malaysian economy has been affected by crises in the past, but this one is unlike any that the country has faced in the last decade. Because the current crisis was caused by external factors, it necessitates a total rethinking of the country growth plan. The 1997 crisis, for example, caused both temporary measures such as capital controls and fundamental changes such as banking and financial system restructuring. But the current crisis will require new ways of thinking about how Malaysia should reposition itself as the crisis challenge and the country's growth strategy assumptions. Next, I will talk to you about factor of the economic crisis. Factor number one is significantly associated with the rise in the level of depression and anxiety symptoms of the affected employees. Employees at risk for income insecurity and poverty, employees working in the private sector, those with lower income, bank loans, and employees who experience stock losses and company profit reductions. Perceived affection by the economic crisis is highest in the private sector, publishing houses in the IT industry with significantly higher affection by the salary reduction and company profit reductions in comparison with the public sector, which is significantly more affected by the increased workload and mobbing. I'm sorry. Factor number two is due to high debt. Household debt in Malaysia alone is among the highest in Asia. If debt continues to get out of control due to layoffs and inability to repay bank loan, it will further accelerate the economic crisis, especially after the expiry of the moratorium on bank loans. Factor number three is declining imports of luxury goods as domestic demand slowed. The high import content of Malaysian manufacturers' exports, especially of capital and intermediate goods, goes a long way in explaining the subsequent rise in imports at the time. Meanwhile, export rose as well, especially in the resource-based sector, and displayed a continued uptrend in ringgit terms. However, when converted into US dollar terms, most of the major export categories displayed a downward trend. Next, I will talk to you about the problem of economic crisis. There are four problems of economic crisis, which is economic inequality, inflation, trade deficit, hiring foreign worker. Number one is inflation. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given period of time. Inflation is typically a broad measure, such as the overall increase in prices of the increase in the cost of living in a country. Number two is trade deficit. A trade deficit occurs when the value of a country's import exceeds the value of its export, with imports and export referring both to goods or physical products and services. In simple terms, a trade deficit means a country is buying more goods and services than it is selling. Next is economic inequality. Economic inequality is the unequal distribution of income and opportunity between different groups in society. It is a concern in almost all countries around the world, especially Malaysia, and often people are trapped in a poverty with little chance to climb up the social ladder. And the last problem is hiring foreign worker. Hiring international workers should be a efficient and witty practice. The process of diversifying your company and launching it in the global market has significant disadvantage as well. It will increase local unemployment. Next, I will talk to you about effect the economic crisis and its impact on the Malaysian economy. Unemployment. Unemployment will grow if economic output decreases. This is because some businesses will fail, causing employees to lose their jobs. To save expenses, businesses will lay off employees. Firms will then reduce the employment of new employees. Number two is fall in income, shorter working week. Firms will also try to reduce costs by keeping wages low. Some workers, especially temporary workers without contracts, may see wage cuts. This ways, I'm sorry, this was a key feature of the 2008 until 2012 recession, also aggravated by rising cost of living. In 2002, at least, cost push inflation will be low, helped by falling oil prices and commodities. Number three is rise in poverty. Government will see a fall in tax revenue because of a recession. Firms make less profit. Therefore, the government receives lower corporation tax, then workers receive lower income. Therefore, government receives a lower income tax and lower prices and fewer housing transactions lead to lower stamp duty revenue, lower expenditure leading to a lower VAT payments. Number four is higher government borrowing, less tax revenue. A recession lead to lower investment and therefore can damage the long-term productive capacity of the economy. If the recession is short, this lost output may be quite limited. Economics can bounce back, but in a prolonged recession, this lost output becomes greater. The 2009 recession caused a permanent loss of output because the recession was very deep in fundamental weaknesses. I will talk to you about the ways to solve these issues. There are five ways, which is expanding fiscal policy, expansionary monetary policy, reduce the taxes, establishment of colleges, universities, and skills training centers, and the last one is government provide subsidiaries to local firms. I will talk to you only two of the I'm sorry. I will talk to you with two of the way to solve this issue. Number one is expanding fiscal policy. Expanding fiscal policy is the government move to tackle unemployment or economic recession by increasing government spending and lowering taxes. Among the fiscal policy tool used it is that the government increasing spending so aggregate demand and aggregate spend and there is an excess of aggregate demand at the original price. Next is expansionary monetary policy. Expansionary monetary policy is the central bank to overcome unemployment or economic recession by increasing the supply of money in the economy so that the interest rate in the economy declines. Conclusion: there are many lessons that can be learned from Malaysia's experience with the crisis. It is clear that besides the impact of the crisis on the economy, the various government policy responses also have an equally significant effect on the economy. Obviously, growth in terms of GDP will be lower, but this will be offset by higher quality, more durable growth. That's all from me, doctor. I'm sorry if there was a mistake, and thank you so much.